This is the divorce papers. I've already filled it out. Got it. All the severance pay and savings are mine. You might as well get on welfare. Married for 30 years. Served a domineering husband all these years, even taking care of his parents while being mistreated by them. Despite all the gratitude, there's no room for sympathy for a husband who belittles me at this divorce negotiation. Well, there's someone I want you to meet. What? You've got a new man? Seeing the man seated next to me, my husband turned pale. My name is Harriet, and I'm a 60-year-old housewife. I married Henry 30 years ago. Back then, I was seen as a woman past her prime, in her 30s, and left on the shelf. I thought I'd never get married. But then, I was introduced to a potential partner. Henry was the same age as me, shy and not good at talking to women. I've never dated a woman before. I, being similarly reserved and having never dated a man, could relate to Henry's sentiment. I also found Henry's honesty and lack of pretense sincere, and I agreed to date him after that. Our relationship, both in our 30s and both being reserved, flourished smoothly. Harriet, will you marry me? Yes. If you're okay with me. The year following our arranged introduction, Henry proposed, and we happily tied the knot. At first, we lived in an apartment, just the two of us. Then I began to see a side of Henry I hadn't noticed before marriage. At home, he was the embodiment of a traditional 50s father. He was mostly reserved and serious. Religiously went to work on time every morning and came home punctually. He was the dominant one in the relationship, seriously telling me to always be 3 steps behind. However, occasionally he'd be out late with colleagues. On those nights, he'd return, saying in a childlike manner, "I can't move anymore. Can you help me out of my clothes?" Back then, I found that side of him endearing. A year into our marriage, I became pregnant and gave birth to our daughter, Maya, when I was 32. Maya was truly a gem of a child. While feeding Maya milk in the hospital room after her birth, Henry immediately suggested we live with his parents. As Maya grows, our current apartment will become too small. Living together will save on rent, and my mom can help with Maya. It's a win-win, right? I naively agreed, not foreseeing that this decision would mark the beginning of my misfortunes. Why did you give birth to a girl? She can't be the heir. When we began living with Henry's parents, his mother constantly berated me for having a daughter. His father would chime in, "Well, just keep trying with Henry until you have a boy," leering suggestively with an offensive tone. What's with these people? When I confided in Henry about his parents' behaviors, he'd brush it off, saying, "Don't bother me with such minor issues. I'm tired from work." I was constantly bullied by my in-laws. Being shy and having married at what was considered a late age, I felt inferior and could never talk back. I endured this torment day in and day out. Nearly 30 years passed, and I was caring for my in-laws. "Harriet, isn't dinner ready yet? You're so slow." Mother-in-law, you ate just 30 minutes ago. Remember, she had developed dementia and would often repeat herself. As for my father-in-law, he couldn't even hold a proper conversation anymore and was bedridden. In this chaotic household, my husband Henry was often absent. I'm back. Henry would come home late at night, frequently skipping dinner. He'd just take a bath and go straight to bed. Of course, we hadn't had a meaningful conversation in ages. Once we're done caring for his parents, I can finally live peacefully with Henry. Henry was set to retire in 6 months. I took care of his parents, holding on to the hope of a better life with him afterward. However, an event occurred that shattered even this modest dream of mine. Harriet, can we talk? After such a long time, Henry called for me, and I rushed to his side. What's going on, Henry? I've decided to quit my job. I had felt a glimmer of hope in this rare conversation with my husband, but his words now felt like a sudden plunge from a roller coaster. What do you mean? It means just that. I've decided to leave the company at the end of this month. What? Just like that? Did something happen at work? You're almost at retirement age. His unexpected announcement made me raise my voice unintentionally. Perhaps upset by my reaction, Henry snapped back with a sharp tone. It's my life, and I can do what I want with it. I've worked hard every day. I'm tired of this monotonous routine and want to enjoy my life while I can. You're doing what you want too, aren't you? What do you mean I'm doing what I want? I mean, with the care for your parents and everything, shouldn't we be saving money for? I was so flustered that I couldn't put my thoughts into words. What came to mind was the immediate issue of taking care of my in-laws and the costs associated with it. Humph, I knew it. You were always after my money. Just sticking around for the money all this time. I won't give you a dime, not even my retirement funds. I should have listened to what they said about you. In addition to my initial shock, Henry's words only further confused me. No, it's not about being money hungry. Realistically, we don't know how long the care for your parents will last, and so, you're playing dumb now. Always using the caregiving as an excuse. What do you do in your free time? Do you have another man? Tell me, what on earth is he talking about? At that moment, I genuinely didn't understand his meaning. With the unpredictable nature of caring for my in-laws, how could I possibly have time for an affair? In contrast, he simply eats the prepared meals in the morning, heads to work, and often goes straight to bed at night without even touching dinner. On his days off, he's nowhere to be found. Isn't he the one leading a selfish life without assisting me at all? With these thoughts, I desperately tried to clear up the misunderstanding. No, I would never do such a thing. I don't have any spare time. Even when I shop, I quickly finish in about 30 minutes at the nearby grocery store every day. I'm managing my time efficiently because I'm taking care of the parents of the husband I love. Why can't Henry understand that? It was baffling. Enough. Someone told me they saw you walking with another man. I will never forgive this. Being accused by Henry for something I didn't recall ever doing, my confusion reached its peak. Combined with my daily exhaustion, I felt dizzy. I can't take this anymore. I need to get away from here for a moment. Dizzy, I managed to grab my usual handbag and coat and ran to the front door. See, you're off to see that man, aren't you? I knew it. Henry hurled accusations at me as I slipped on my sandals at the entrance and opened the door. Once I left the house and was out of earshot, I felt so overwhelmed that I even forgot to breathe. After walking a short distance in the night breeze and no longer hearing Henry's voice, I pondered what to do next. Unable to make a decision, I hesitated but eventually called my daughter, Emily, who currently lived alone. "Hello, Mom. Long time no talk." Hearing Emily's voice, tears started flowing uncontrollably. Sniff. Emily. Your mom. I don't know what to. Sobbing, I couldn't find the words to explain the situation. Whoa, Mom, what happened? Are you okay? Calm down. Take a deep breath first. Realizing my distress, Emily tried to soothe and calm me down. After a short walk, I found a park and sat on a bench to take a break. Though I was choked up and couldn't speak, Emily stayed on the phone, checking on me. "Emily, I'm sorry for all this. It must have startled you." After a few minutes, I managed to regain my composure and spoke. "It's okay. Where are you right now?" "I'm at a park near home called M Park." "Oh, I used to play there a lot as a kid. Is there still a family diner called Zest nearby?" Looking up, I saw the sign of the chain diner across the street. "Yes, it's still there." "All right, I'll come pick you up. Go inside and order something if you want. I'll cover it." "Okay, I'll wait there." "Thanks." Touched by my daughter's kindness, I entered the diner. About an hour later, Emily arrived at the diner. "Mom, something serious happened, didn't it? You were crying so much." "Emily, thank you." "Well, your dad said something really unthinkable to me." I recounted the events to Emily. She listened intently, her gaze fixed on me. Once I finished, Emily seemed lost in thought for a moment. After finishing her coffee, she began to speak. "Mom, first off, you're staying with me from tonight. There's no need to go back to that environment. Plus, there's something I'm concerned about. Let's go to my place, okay?" I felt grateful, admiring how dependable my own daughter had become. Though I was worried about taking care of my in-laws, I was just too drained. Tonight, I'd find refuge at Emily's and rest. "Thank you. I'll gladly accept your offer." Once we were on the street, Emily took my hand and hailed a taxi to head to her apartment. Emily is currently working as a writer for a camping magazine. She's always loved camping, often going solo, and has been sharing her experiences on her blog and social media. Originally, she worked as an office worker for a general trading company. But with the recent camping trend, she was approached via social media by a major magazine and transitioned into a freelance writing career. This writing gig must really suit Emily's nature. Now, she not only writes about camping, but also contributes articles to various other magazines, making a living out of it. After all you've done for Dad and the grandparents, it's unbelievable that they doubt you now, Emily commented. We turned off the lights and were lying down when Emily began speaking to me. You know, I've always thought the way Grandpa and Grandma treated you was really off. The fact that Emily refers to my in-laws as Grandpa and Grandma shows she doesn't have a fond feeling towards them. Plus, Dad's behavior towards you is strange, right? He treats you almost like a housemaid. And when Grandpa and Grandma pick on you, he never steps in to help. I was taken aback. Had Emily always been so observant of our family dynamics? Her insightfulness caught me by surprise. But Dad's always busy. That's what I'm a bit concerned about. Concerned about what? Well, don't worry about it. You're exhausted today. Let's just sleep. Yeah. Today was quite the ordeal. I bet. Just relax now, okay? Good night. All right. Good night. 3 days after I started staying at Emily's place, I was preparing dinner when Emily, who had been out for an interview, returned home. Oh, that smells so good. There's just something special about your cooking, Mom. It's been years since I've heard you say that. Let's eat while it's still hot. With that, Emily washed her hands and took her seat at the table. I poured some miso soup for both of us and sat down. Smiling with delight and commenting on how delicious it was, Emily quickly finished her meal. After she finished eating, Emily cleared her own dishes and returned to the table with a cup of coffee and some tea bags. She then began speaking with a serious look on her face. Mom, please listen carefully. Over the past 3 days, I hired a detective I know to follow Dad and see what he's been up to. Caught off guard by this sudden revelation while I was still eating, I choked on my miso soup. Asterisk cough cough. Asterisk what? You had Dad investigated. Well, after hearing what you told me, a few things bothered me. Like Dad coming home late, and who it was that said they saw him walking with another man. Emily's sharp intuition seemed to pick up on something off about Robert. Given her profession as a writer, she had a vast network of connections. The detective she hired this time was through that network. Now, please listen calmly. According to the detective's findings, it seems Dad has been having an affair with another woman. What? I felt like my mind went completely blank. Not only did Robert doubt my fidelity, but he himself was cheating. Emily began showing me documents and pictures she received from a detective she knew. Indeed, there were photos of Robert arm in arm with another woman. This woman's name is Julie, and she's 51 years old. She works at a local bar that Dad frequently visits. Even though Julie is 51, she looks like she's in her 40s. She's wearing a flashy dress with a black background and a pattern of red roses. Dad has been going to that bar for years now, and it seems he's become quite close with this Julie. Emily told me in a matter-of-fact tone. Can you believe this kind of betrayal? While Mom is swamped taking care of the grandparents every day, he's off cheating with another woman. It's truly unbelievable. I was living every day on the edge, without a moment to even consider such things. When Bob doubted my fidelity, I thought maybe I was partly at fault too. But now, I'm boiling with anger at Bob's callous words and actions. It seems for the past 3 days, Dad has been frequenting Julie's house. And apparently, he's hired someone to take care of the grandparents. Not from a care facility, but someone else, Emily said. He leaves his own parents with someone who's not even a professional caregiver and enjoys his time with his mistress. The thought that I've loved such a man all this time just depresses me. I can't believe Bob was this kind of person, Emily said. Yeah, seeing Dad's actions made me have a negative impression about marriage. I'm sorry to say, but it felt more like you two were an employer and employee than a married couple. You're right, Emily. I've had an awakening. I want to divorce him and get back at him. I got you. I'll help you out. From that point on, Emily and I started preparing our retaliation against Bob and Jane. First, we asked the detective who caught Bob in the act of cheating to continue gathering more evidence. Before long, we received definitive proof, including photos of Bob and Jane brazenly kissing on the street outside the bar where Jane worked. How can they shamelessly do this in broad daylight? Moreover, the detective who infiltrated the bar managed to record a conversation between Bob and Jane. Has your wife left for good and not coming back? Yeah, I feel so refreshed without that boring woman around. She's probably with some random guy like Jane mentioned. But what if Emily gets wise and demands your retirement money? There's no way she has the guts for that. After all, she left her prestigious job at a big company for some menial position. She's not that sharp. Hey, that's the plan. With Bob's retirement money, we'll immediately book that fancy hotel. Just imagine both of us looking at the night skyline. Oh, I can't wait. Will you drop by my place tonight, Bob? Of course, why wouldn't I? Each piece of evidence that surfaced only deepened my anger and resentment towards Bob. After gathering all this evidence, I consulted a lawyer about divorce. Your husband's infidelity is irrefutable, so you can definitely claim compensation and a share of the property. The lawyer mentioned that I could also seek compensation from Jane, Bob's mistress. Furthermore, since Bob made me take full responsibility for caring for our in-laws and never helped, I can claim compensation for that as well. We also need evidence to counteract his claim that you've been cheating with another man. To prove my fidelity, I prepared footage from the caregiving surveillance camera. This camera was installed 2 years ago when Emily returned home to try and alleviate some of my burdens. I had Emily set it up so I could watch the footage on my phone, but I forgot how to use it. I totally forgot it even existed. According to Emily, the footage from the caregiving surveillance camera is stored at a remote data center for 365 days. Since Emily had set up the contract and was taking care of the monthly payments, Bob had no knowledge of the camera's existence. Emily accessed the computer and retrieved the recorded data for us. Upon viewing the footage, it was evident that I rarely left the house due to caregiving responsibilities. The audio also revealed that I was constantly berated by my in-laws. "We've got the footage from when you left the house too." What they said was unbelievable. Although it was too painful for me to watch, Emily, who had seen it, was visibly furious. As we were preparing our next move, I received a call from Bob. "When are you planning to come back? I want to talk. Meet me at Zest, the local diner, this Sunday at 3 p.m. Without showing any concern for my well-being, Bob only conveyed his message. "Okay, I got it." I responded briefly and quickly hung up the phone. "Don't worry, Mom. I'll be right behind you." Emily made the call to the lawyer for me. And then came Sunday, right at 3 p.m. We arrived at Zest on time and began looking for Bob. However, there was no sign of him, so we decided to take a Seat and wait. After what felt like an hour, we spotted Bob outside the entrance of the diner. But there was also a woman standing next to him. "That must be Yumi." Despite it still being broad daylight, the woman and Bob unabashedly hugged before parting ways. With a smug expression on his face, Bob entered Zest. Spotting us, he promptly took a Seat right in front of us. "Oh, Emily, you're here too." Ignoring our glaring stares, Bob started talking without waiting for a response. "Haru, I've decided to divorce you." "Is that so?" My rather indifferent response seemed to surprise Bob a bit, as he uttered, "Oh, well, here's the divorce paper. I've already filled out my part." "Understood." I quickly took the divorce paper from him. "Also, the retirement money and our savings are all mine." "No, that's rather self-serving of you. I'll be rightfully claiming alimony and my share of our assets." "So, you were all about the money after all." "Sorry, but I have no intention of giving you a dime." "Why don't you try living on welfare? We've been married for 30 years. I had served my domineering husband all these years, caring for his parents even when they were constantly hard on me. He forgets such acts of kindness and, swayed by some lowly woman, continues to demean me even during this divorce discussion. I have no sympathy left for him and his mistress." "Well, there's someone I'd like you to meet." "What? Have you found a new man?" Looking at the man sitting next to me, Bob turned pale. "So, Bob, everything your wife said was true. Why? Why is the boss here?" This man was the head of the department at Bob's workplace. "We received a call at the office from a lawyer representing your wife. They said that you're likely getting divorced due to your infidelity. Moreover, you're apparently planning to spend all your severance pay with that woman, so they'd like to place a temporary line on those funds." "Harriet, you even told people at my office." Bob seemed so shocked his eyes were bulging, but his boss continued, "This is unprecedented in our company's history. I was informed by your wife's lawyer about today's discussion. They even considered the possibility that this seizure notice might be fraudulent and wanted to verify the truth. So I decided to attend. Despite your own affair, you tried to fabricate my infidelity to escape paying alimony. That's why I took measures to prevent it. What? Are you saying I had an affair? Do you have proof? At that moment, my lawyer entered, bringing with him Lucy, Bob's mistress. I'm Harriet's attorney. Lucy here is involved in this matter, so I brought her along. With the situation clarified, Bob's boss left, and my lawyer took a seat next to me. Based on Harriet's statement, we're demanding $60,000 from Bob for infidelity and for forcing her to care for his parents all these years. Additionally, we're demanding $30,000 from Lucy for being involved with a married man, knowing his status, and causing the breakdown of Harriet's marriage. As my lawyer conveyed this in a businesslike manner, Lucy unexpectedly slapped Bob across the face. This is not what we discussed. What do you mean? Leave it to me. I got dragged into this mess too. Then, Bob, face flushed red, started sobbing uncontrollably. I didn't think you, Harriet, would be this sharp-witted. Seeing his pathetic state, I was taken aback. I regretted spending 30 years with such a man, and coldly observed the noisy and embarrassing exchange between the two of them. The meeting was so chaotic. We showed Bob and Lucy evidence of their affair and decided to end it there. Later, I heard from my lawyer that Lucy, whose parents were still alive, visited the law firm with them. They agreed to pay the compensation. Lucy, after seeing Bob's pitiful face, reportedly lost interest and broke up with him. On the other hand, my lawyer thought Bob might request a reduction in the amount, but apparently, he didn't. Of course, if he doesn't pay, the money will be taken from his seized retirement funds. I wonder if he's now screaming in frustration, trying to care for his parents. Speaking of caring for his parents, I've had no involvement since that day. I cared for them solely because I loved Bob. Without that sentiment, there's no way I could offer such selfless care in that hellish situation. Bob always dumped the responsibility on me. It's clearly Bob's duty to take care of them. The care monitoring cameras that Mary had installed were removed by professionals on the day of our diner meeting. So I have no way of knowing what's happening now. I ended up living with Mary. I could get my revenge this time largely because of Mary's presence. They say children are treasures, but for me, Mary feels more like a godsend. Breaking away from Bob's family made me realize how little attention I gave to Mary. From now on, I plan to make up for that lost time and create new memories as mother and daughter.